The Rise of the Sauropods by John Hughes. Contents: Introducing the Sauropods, 2. Discovering the Thunder Lizard, 4. Before the Sauropods, 6. The Jurassic Period, Rise of the Sauropods, 12. What a sauropod looked like, 18. How did sauropods live, 26. Sauropod nests, 28. The last of the sauropods, 30. Why did the sauropods die out, 32. Could a sauropod have survived, 34. Sauropod sizes, 36. Glossary, 38. Index, 39. Introducing the sauropods. The sauropods were the biggest animals ever to walk the earth. They were a type of dinosaur that lived in a warm, wet climate between 150 and 70 million years ago. Sauropods had huge bodies and very long necks. Their tails were even longer. Some were as long as a small airliner and weighed as much as 7 elephants. Discovering the Thunder Lizard. In 1879, American scientist Othniel Charles Marsh discovered the sauropod. He found the fossilized bones of a huge extinct animal. He arranged these into a skeleton and found that the animal had a large body. It had 4 strong legs, a long neck, and a tail. However, its head was small. Marsh realized that this animal would have been very big and very heavy. It would have made the ground shake as it walked. So he named it Brontosaurus. This means thunder lizard in Greek. This picture of a Brontosaurus skeleton was drawn in 1896. Fact file: lizard feet. Many people still call all long-necked dinosaurs brontosaurs, but the correct name for this type of animal is a sauropod, meaning lizard-footed. How do scientists know? Fossils. 1. An animal dies. 2. The skeleton is covered in sand and mud. 3. As time passes, more layers of sand and mud form and cover the skeleton. 4. Over millions of years, the fossils are formed. 5. Weather wears down the rocks and the fossils are revealed on the surface. Before the sauropods. Pangaea. 230 million years ago, Earth looked very different than it does today. Countries and continents were clumped together to form one large landmass. This was called Pangaea. The climate was much warmer than nowadays. The middle of Pangaea was made up of deserts. Near the coast, it was much wetter. Rainy seasons made lakes and rivers, and jungles were formed. Scientists think that sauropods developed from much smaller animals. Their ancestors were called prosauropods. This means before the lizard-footed. The earliest remains of prosauropods date back tens of millions of years before Brontosaurus and the other sauropods even existed. Fact file: the oldest dinosaur fossils ever found were a pair of prosauropod jawbones. They were found in Madagascar in 1999. This animal is a prosauropod. Prosauropod fossils are over 228 million years old. They are the earliest dinosaur fossils ever found. Prosauropods also had long necks, long tails, and small heads. Their jaws were filled with small, peg-like teeth. They usually walked around on 4 legs, but they were able to stand up on their back legs to reach leaves growing up high. Fact file: Prosauropods were herbivores. This means that they ate plants and did not eat meat. They were so big they had to keep eating all day. Plateosaurus standing up on its back legs to eat. The Jurassic period, rise of the sauropods. Over 80 million years, Pangaea moved and split apart to form new continents. At the same time, it got hotter and wetter. Jungles covered the landscape. They provided enough food for all kinds of herbivores, including dinosaurs. The volcanoes made the climate change. More plants could grow, so there was more food for the sauropods. Other animals lived alongside the sauropods. Flying reptiles called pterosaurs flew between the trees, hunting insects. Other species of dinosaurs roamed the landscape. Some of these were carnivores. They hunted the animals that lived in and around the forests. Fact file: Pterosaurs. There were many different types of pterosaur. Some were small and ate insects. Others caught birds and small animals. Sauropods, like these apatosaurs, roamed alongside carnivorous dinosaurs. They were usually too big to be eaten. About 144 million years ago, there were many different species of sauropod. They had very few predators. This was because they were bigger than most of the other animals living around them. Supersaurus, meaning super lizard, was 34 meters long and 8 meters high, and weighed as much as 70 tons. Supersaurus was twice as high as a large African elephant and 7 times heavier. What a sauropod looked like. The sauropods had huge stomachs because they had to eat almost all the time. They had many meters of intestines to process all the plants they ate. The sauropods could reach vegetation easily because of their long necks. They swept them from side to side to gather branches and leaves. They could do this without having to move the rest of their body. Sauropods had small heads. This meant that their necks could grow longer without having to carry a heavy skull at the end. The small size also meant they could reach between the branches to get to the leaves they wanted to eat. Then they used their sharp, peg-like teeth to strip the leaves from the branches. Sauropods were very large, heavy animals, so their 4 legs were strong and thick. The front and back feet were not the same, however. At the front, they only had 1 claw, called a thumb claw. The back feet looked more like a normal dinosaur foot, with 5 clawed toes. How do scientists know? Skin. Sometimes the pattern on a dinosaur's skin becomes a fossil in rock. Scientists can see what dinosaurs looked like. Fossilized imprint of dinosaur skin. Some sauropods grew bony armor on their thick skin to defend them against attacks. Others could fight off attackers using other parts of their bodies. The Shunosaurus, for example, grew spikes on the ends of its tail. It used its tail like a club to swing at attacking predators. The Diplodocus had a tough, thin, and flexible end to its tail. It could use it as a whip against animals attacking it. A Diplodocus protecting itself with its tail. How did sauropods live? Many types of sauropod lived in herds. This helped them defend themselves against the carnivorous dinosaurs that hunted them. Moving around in groups confused predators because they didn't know which one to attack. Being in a group also protected the young animals. They stayed in the center of the group, surrounded by the bigger adults. How do scientists know? Moving. The fossilized tracks of dinosaurs have been found all over the world. These footprints help scientists tell how an animal moved, how fast it traveled, and what its feet looked like. The narrow spaces between footprints show the legs came straight down from the body. There are no tail marks. This shows the dinosaur held its tail off the ground. Sauropod nests. Sauropods laid eggs in shallow, rounded pits on the ground. These nests were called scrapes. They were made in large groups in areas known as nest sites. Females laid between 15 and 40 eggs each. The eggs were arranged in rows or clutches. Some adults may have guarded their nests. Others just covered up their eggs with soil and left them. Most of the eggs never hatched, but so many eggs were laid by each female that enough hatchlings survived to grow into adults. Sauropod egg almost ready to hatch out. How do scientists know? Nests. In 1997, scientists found one of the largest dinosaur nesting sites in the world. The thousands of fossilized eggs and nests discovered belong to a type of sauropod species called Titanosaurus. It was one of the largest animals to have walked the earth. The last of the sauropods. Sauropods were larger than other animals that lived around them. Magirrhosaurus was one of the smallest sauropods, at about 6 meters long. It was still bigger than other animals living nearby. Just over 65 million years ago, one main type of sauropod, called Titanosaurus, was found all over the world. It was the largest of all dinosaurs and had a similar body shape to the earlier sauropods. Why did the sauropods die out? The last of the sauropods died out at the same time as most of the other dinosaurs. This happened about 65 million years ago. Fact file. It is thought a huge asteroid crashed into the Earth. This caused the extinction of many species, including the sauropods. How do scientists know? Asteroids. Scientists have found a layer of clay in rocks that occurs all over the world. It was laid down at the same time, and they call this layer the KT boundary. This clay contains a mineral called iridium. It is very rare here on Earth, but is quite common in asteroids. Could a sauropod have survived? It would be fantastic to think that somewhere in the world, in a lost valley deep in a jungle, dinosaurs are still surviving. Animals that were once believed to be extinct have been found again. For many years now, fishermen in remote jungle areas sometimes say they've seen a large, dangerous animal. They call it Mokele Mbembe. This means one who stops the flow of rivers. The way they describe this animal is very similar to the old drawings of the Brontosaurus: a big body, long neck with small head, and a long tail dragging on the ground. Despite many expeditions over the past 100 years, no one has ever found this animal. But people keep on looking. A fisherman seeing what he thinks is Mokele Mbembe. It is very unlikely that a sauropod could have survived millions of years in the jungles of Africa. Sauropod sizes: Saturnalia, Magirrhosaurus, Plateosaurus, Shunosaurus, Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus, Supersaurus, Titanosaurus. Glossary. Armor. Hard, protective layer on the outside. Asteroids. Small rocks going round the sun. Carnivores. Meat-eating animals. Club. Something heavy used as a weapon. Clutches. Small group of eggs laid at the same time. Dinosaur. Prehistoric reptile. Extinct. No longer living. Fossilized. Preserved in rock, leaving a print of the living animal or plant. Hatchlings. Young animals that have recently come out of their shells. Landmass. Large area of land in one piece. Predators. Animals that kill and eat other animals. Skeleton. Framework of bone supporting the body of an animal.